Hello, I'm Wally Haas. I'm former opinion editor of the Rockford Register-Star, and I'm here today with Rockford Mayor Tom McNamara in this untitled segment where we're just trying to give you more information so you know more about the city in which you live. So today's topic is public safety, which is a never-ending topic in this community. And frankly, Mr. Mayor, our numbers are not very good.
No, our numbers are atrocious. Public safety easily is the thing that makes you stay up at night. We're not where we need to be, and we're certainly not where citizens deserve us to be.
So why shouldn't I put a for sale sign in front of my house and move to Beloit?
So I think for a lot of reasons. Every decision we're making at the city is really being drawn to us by data. And so a couple of things that you need to know. 40% of our violent crime is domestic violence. 75% of youth that we're arresting for violent crime had some form of trauma early on in their childhood. You look at all the homicides from 2016 through 2020, the perpetrator and the victim all had, 90% of them had trauma early on in their childhood. So we're doing two big things for public safety. One is absolutely, we're going to do the enforcement aspect. As long as I'm mayor, we're not going to divest from our police department. We're going to actually invest in public safety. So we have more officers today than the day I got hired. We are putting more money towards technology, if that's mobile and stationary license plate readers. We've added 60 of them. We've more than 4 times the number of cameras in our community to make sure that we're watching those high traffic intersections. We know that many of our criminals are actually pretty stupid. They post their information on social media. So now we have social analytics software that we track what they're doing on social media. We also have gunshot detection software. We have a whole host of tools and resources so our officers can do their job. But the big thing that we are doing pretty drastically different than what we've done historically. And we've historically had this violent crime problem, as you touched on.
Well, it predates you by many years, and I've been here for more than 40 years, and public safety has always been the #1 topic.
It is, and so we need to stop that cycle of violence. So I started with talking about that trauma at an early age. So what we see today is a young person experiences trauma. That trauma goes unmitigated. They go through our education system. They typically don't do very well educationally. They may cause some trouble inside the school system. Then they go out into the streets, and that trauma is played out in our streets with men, typically with violence towards others. With women, it's typically violence towards themselves. Then, after that's playing out in the streets, they have a spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, and it starts in their home. And then you have that cycle all over again. So we are working to interrupt that cycle. So we've created the state of Illinois' first ever Family Peace Center to help survivors and their children. We have doubled the number of kids in early Head Start. We have doubled the number of hours our Head Start kids, our 4 and 5-year-olds, are in the classroom. We are absolutely creating programs to intervene and mitigate that trauma at the earliest possible age, to wrap our arms around these young people so that they have the resources they need to deal with some very real traumas going on.
Let's talk about the Family Peace Center a little bit. Explain the concept to people who may not be familiar with what you're trying to accomplish there.
So Family Peace Center, if we take a survivor and place that survivor at State and Alpine, the population center, and let's say this was 3 years ago, Wally, that survivor would need to go to about 20 different locations. Those 20 different locations, if you're driving, would have taken them about 5 hours to go to. If you were taking the bus, you simply couldn't do it in a day or even 2 days. So what we have done is we've co-located all these organizations, more than 20 of them, into one single space. So a survivor can walk through those doors. Number 1, that survivor is going to be believed, and number 2, every resource they need is going to be right there. They can file electronic orders of protection against their abuser. They can get counseling for themselves. They can get trauma-informed counseling for their child. They can meet with other survivors. We have a committee called Voices that really drives all the work that we do out of the Family Peace Center, and Voices is made up of survivors throughout our community. And so this center is the first in the state. There's other successful centers across the country. One is right in Milwaukee, and these centers have a proven track record of reducing domestic violence and assisting survivors, and a huge track record of dramatically reducing the number of domestic-related homicides.
You know, we could spend an entire episode on the Family Peace Center, and perhaps we will in the future. But you know, when we talk about public safety, it's more than just the city of Rockford. Yeah. We have Winnebago County, the sheriff's office, the state's attorney, the judges. There's so many pieces to this pie. How are those pieces fitting together?
So I would say overall pretty good. We have what we call the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. And so back in 2017, 2018, many of us started gathering together. So we include the probation office, we include the state's attorney, all of the units that you just mentioned. All of us meet, we talk about what's going well, what's not going well. Obviously some of that changes, right? As you have different personalities take in different elected positions, or even other positions like the chief judge, if they switch, which they have. All of those things can impact it. So big partnerships that we have right now, and ones that we have and ones that we need to work on. One with the Sheriff's Department. We need to make sure that we're continuing to work. We do often a lot of collaboration when it comes to warrants. So we know who those most violent are, and when we have those warrants, often we will work in tandem with the county, or we'll work with the state police or the FBI if we need to go and do those warrant searches. We need to make sure that those are happening on a more continuous basis, and that that's really working in a streamlined way. I would say I'm really appreciative of our state's attorney now, Jay Hanley. Will me and him agree on every issue? No. But he does an incredible job of communicating. I mean, I've talked to him probably once every week, if not a lot more than that, and that far exceeds the amount of communication I've had from that office for a long period of time. He's, I think, doing a good job. He wants to push for stronger sentences for violent gun offenses, as well as violent domestic violence offenses. The judges, I think we probably have a love-hate relationship. I'm not in their shoes. They have an incredibly difficult job to do, especially if you're looking at bond court. They have only a couple minutes to decide what this individual's bond's going to be. So every once in a while, I like to be the Monday morning quarterback and wish it was different. I just have this philosophy that I think if you're running around our community with a gun and you're wreaking havoc in our homes and our schools or on our streets, I really don't have a lot of tolerance for it. And I think those penalties need to be swift because we know the likelihood of that person repeating is much higher.
All right. And you talked a little bit about root causes early on, but what about offenders who have been in state prison for a few years and then they come back to the community, which on any given year can be 800-900 different people. What's being done to help reintegrate them into society successfully?
Absolutely. So just this year, actually, we created a focused reentry program. So what we do is we have our professionals analyze those who are coming back to our community, and we take groups of those individuals, typically anywhere from about 12 to 20, that we believe have the highest propensity to commit more violent acts or have violent acts committed against them. Often those are the same individuals. And so what we do, we created this focused reentry program, and we bring these individuals in. And we actually sit in a room somewhat similar to this in a semicircle. On one side, it's myself, it's the chairman, it's the head of the police department, it's the sheriff, and kind of the law enforcement side. We welcome them and we tell them the violence has to stop and we're no longer going to tolerate it in our community. The second half of the room are a family member who may have been impacted by violence. It is 2 or 3 people who have overcome what these individuals are going through. I mean, they're going through a lot themselves. They've been incarcerated, now they're coming back, often to a world that's far different than the world that they left from. And then the last person to speak is someone that we hire. Her name is Tratera Flowers, an amazing person who's had a criminal history in her past and has overcome it, and now is giving back as what we call a navigator, really a case manager, someone who's alongside these individuals coming back to our community 24/7, 365, helping them find housing, helping them get connected to other services, helping them reconnect with their family, helping them find employment, doing all those things. So we're trying to take the most violent of violent offenders that come back to our community and get them back being productive members of our society.
You know, we talk a lot about institutions with public safety, but individuals have a role as well.
Yeah.
What can I do, or what can my neighbors do to help make this a safer community?
Absolutely. So one thing that would be helpful is don't just complain. I mean, I think everyone has a complaint. I would say one thing that you can do is many of you read amazing articles or visit different cities and see the things that they're doing. So bring those best practices here. We are an open door. We want to hear good solutions. I would say number two, the old adage, if you see something, say something. Number three, the vast majority of items that get burglarized out of a vehicle is because the car was unlocked or the car was left running. Do the simple things. Lock your car. Don't have your car running, even though it does get cold. There's small things that you can do. Others, attend a neighborhood meeting. Get actively engaged. Neighborhoods, I can tell you right now, neighborhoods that meet frequently, neighborhoods that stick together, know each other, they're a lot safer neighborhoods in our community. That's why we're trying to really push to get more people to know each other in their neighborhoods.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You know, we talked about public safety for a while today. We'll have other topics as we go forward with this program, which we'll name eventually. So if you have any questions or any comments, please, whatever media you're watching this on, include it in the links, and we'll try to maybe do a mailbag session at some point and try to answer your questions. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.